Thanks for joining us on Tungsten Tales this 2014 Q-Score Day 2, and happy to say we've been joined by, from the PDC, Rod Harrington. Rod, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
God, this is fantastic. 360 players registered, 32 dartboards, and it is controlled mayhem, I think, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Our staff, I mean, they do a great job. I mean, I can't give them enough credit. I mean, the dartboards, 16 of these are brand new, only just been finished off. And yeah, it works. We've got a very good clock that works, you know, absolutely perfectly. And everybody knows their job. That's the best thing. And if something goes wrong, there's a dedicated person that gets in there. It doesn't have to go through 4 or 5 people and someone goes, oh, well, I'll do that. It's done straight away. And the guys that run all the boards, I think the players help out because they're now into that format of knowing how we run things. You know, when you win your game, you're straight up to your official. You tell him, how long have I got? Right, you've got 2 games, and they're always about we have to chase after the odd person. But even with a lot of newcomers, they soon get the gist of how we run things, and that's why it runs so well.
Yeah, I think it says it on the boards, doesn't it? Respect yourself, your opponent, and the game is absolutely, it is fantastic, and the quality, you know, just to get to the Pro Tour, absolutely amazing. I mean, I've seen 170 checkouts, 180s for fun out there, and a lot of these players, of course, aren't going to make it. Amazing.
No, that's the disappointing thing, that there's going to be a lot of disappointed people. I just had to take my son home, you know, he lost today, and it is hard to get over because they see, you know, the big TV games, and they see, you know, over 7 million, and within 5 years it'll be up to a £10 million purse over the year. So it is hard, but that's what professional sport is all about. If you ain't good enough, you don't make it, and there's no sympathy in it. So it's get a proper job if you're not good enough. Happened in my day, and so that's what it's all about. But it's great to see so many people are now looking at the PDC and going, and it's all a lovely package now, you know, with the TV events, the way Sky hype it up, you know, make it look, you know, the young kids are getting the audience, they see it, and the hairs on the back of the neck standing, I want a bit of this. And I recognised it many years ago when I come back onto the board, and it's good that, you know, we've got a good board of directors that understand the way I do things. I'm a bit aggressive, and I don't ask politely, I don't send emails. It's stand up, tell it to your face, and I can, well, want to do this, and that's the way it is. But Barry Hearn, he knows what I'm like. He's been engrossed in sport for a long time, so he knows what the setups are, the golf setup. This is what this is mirroring now. And it's good that, you know, when we first brought the tour events in, that was the first obstacle, I suppose, and then from there to start the youth tour and the challenge tour. I've wanted to do the youth and the challenge separately for the last 3 or 4 years, but you know, finances have to be in place. You know, although we may recoup, I don't know, 40% of it that we're going to lay out, you can't run a business unless the books are right. And I'm a guy that goes gung-ho and sometimes forget about the financial side. You know, I go out and buy things and I forget if I've got any money in the bank to pay for them. But that's the way I've always been. But, you know, now all the financial side of things are in place for the PDC, then it was the right time to bring in, as this year, the youth tour and then the challenge. And it works well because this Q-Score, everyone that don't get a tour card, they've now got something else to play for. You know, and you get the youngsters, and they are brilliant, these youngsters. They've got the youth tour, which is 20 tournaments. If they don't get the tour card, they've got 16 challenge tour events. Then they can play in the 6 UK Opens, they can play in the 10 European qualifiers, and then if they're high enough up in the Q-Score rankings, they can fill up the shortfall on the Pro Tour. So a young 20, 21-year-old could play 50 tournaments this year. Now, I know that's going to cost them a lot of money, but if they're good enough, there's so many avenues to recoup their money and earn a few quid. You know, it's £1,000 for the winner of a youth tour event, £2,000 for the winner of a challenge tour. Now, these are 3rd and 4th tours on the way down. I mean, I had to travel all over the world in the 90s, you know, and beat 3,000 people, and that includes Phil Taylor and Bristow in their prime, to earn £2,000. And now it is, but the standard in depth, that's what's amazed me. From the very first, I'll tell you a quick story. Jamie Landon, his name is, in the first youth tour I did, I walked out the registration booth and Jamie was on the first board. Now this was 3-4 years ago, so he was even littler than what he is now. And I thought, blimey, I've just charged him 30 quid to play in this. His first leg was a 12 dart leg. And then as I walked round, I could not believe what I was watching. I knew these kids were good, but they're not scared. No. They step up and they're going to rip your head off if they can. They're not scared. Look how many times Phil Taylor's been beaten by youngsters. Last year, 4 or even 5 times. And of course, with Michael Smith beating him in the World Championship, kind of proved to everybody that the system is working. You know, we're giving them that stepping stone into the professional career. You know, there are other things I want to do, but, you know, like Mr. Hearn tells me, right, we've done this, just calm down a bit. You know, there is other things. We need them to learn how to conduct themselves because it is a professional sport. You know, you can't have them just go off and do this and do that. So that's solid, but, you know, we're in our infancy, really. You know, we've got another 5 or 6 years, and hopefully it's all in place by the time I'm 60, which is 4 years' time, and I can just go.
Looking good on it, though. No, you're right. And you say about these youngsters, and I think because they can play the Phil Taylors in the James Wades and the Adrian Lewis's every week on the tours, that when they actually play them on the telly, it's obviously a big step, but it's not quite as big as it used to be. You know, playing those players.
You're exactly right. I mean, if you come to a pro tour, they're all on the tables, and people will go up. Phil will go up and talk to them, so they get to know each other. So when, like you say, when you get to play them, you ain't scared of them. You know, you don't sit there and hate each other. It ain't like, you know, boxing where you don't see your opponent for years and then you get up and you can hate him. These guys don't, but these youngsters want the scalp. Yeah. And Phil Taylor and all the big pros are going, cool, blimey, I've watched this young lad play. I've got to be a little bit careful here. And so it's a little bit of the reverse. You know, the top pro goes, oh, blimey, I better be careful here. And the young guy's going, right, I'm going to give you a good one here. Yeah. And that's what's happened. I mean, it is very rewarding for me personally, I suppose, because to see it work, because I put my proverbial backside on the line, as Mr. Hearn said at a board meeting over the top of his glasses, on your head be it. So I'm still in a job, so it is actually working, yeah. But it, you know, I can't emphasise how good our staff are, from, you know, the staging guys, the markers, everybody. And then we've got 3 people that run a company that turn over 12 million. You know, the day-to-day business, you know, Matt Porter, the CEO, and Haley and Dave Allen. I mean, the other night, Dave and Haley were in their office till 12 o'clock at night, putting this up so we can do this on a computer draw. Now, that's dedication for you. Fantastic. And if you didn't have that dedication in everyone, it wouldn't work so smoothly. And right the way down the line, from the top to the bottom, we've got the dedication. Yeah,
you're right. It is absolutely fantastic. Just walking around the boards and say all of those players, and say it seems to almost run itself because the discipline's there. It is fantastic. And of course, on the first day, we see an Aussie, we see a Dutchman, we see a Spaniard, and of course, one of our own boys come through. Isn't that great to see in the world of darts as well?
Well, yeah, that's kind of my next step. I got up early this morning. I'm an early riser, and I was on the computer and I was doing a few things, and. What I would like to do is have a slush fund, to be quite honest, to help out the foreign players, because we need to spread. We're probably maxed out for tournaments and that in the UK. The next step for the company has got to be abroad. You know, with Carl Anderson and his brother doing so well at the World Championships, you know, and then Carl getting his tour card. But how many tournaments is Carl going to be able to come over? Now, I suppose in the real world, you know, you can't help out too many people, because who do you pick and choose? Someone's got to play God, which is not very, very nice. But there again, I get loads of rucks with people, so I don't mind playing God. But, you know, in the ideal world, I suppose if we owned a couple of properties, so when they come over, right, they can stay in the properties. We don't have to charge them for entry fees. So all of a sudden, you know, because in the long run, say let's take Carl Anderson, in the long run, if he does well over here, it'll be shown more over there. So then over there we can get in foothold. Well, if we're going to do that in a lot of countries, that'll work. Yeah. But convincing the board of directors to buy a few flats and houses might be a tough one.
Well, I think I heard the story that, you know, at Australian Open tennis, the Michael van Gerwen chants going up, at the cricket, at the Ashes. This is great, isn't it? It's almost taken over the world, isn't it? It's brilliant.
It is. I mean, the music, I don't go to nightclubs very often now. We have a night out now and again. If that music, Chase the Sun, comes up, everybody knows it. It is. And it is nice. I mean, I've had a phone call from a professional golfer today, Jamie Donaldson. How's things? I want to come to Manchester Premier League, bring a couple of mates. You know, the golfers love it. The cricketers are mad on it. Even when I was playing, I was knockabout with the Essex cricketers. And it is good because that gives the sport respect, which we've not had a lot in the past. You know, everybody's, you know, it's a game of darts down a pub with a pint of beer in the other end. It ain't that now. It's a job, you know. And there is one person I've got to mention, the person who lost in the final to Michael van Gerwen, Peter Wright. If any of these youngsters want to look at someone to think he's changed it around in just over a year, what has he done? Well, if you look, he keeps away from everybody. He doesn't get in that banter, that silly, but that some of the players do, and they've lost out through it. And he's always got his wife with him, you know. Keeps it away, keeps him level-headed, and he does it right. And I was pleased for Peter Wright to do well. And a few of the youngsters could, you know, look at him and look at Phil Taylor, the way he's conducted himself, Dennis Priestley, you know, and if they do that, they won't go far wrong if they've got the ability. That's
right, because it is one of the sports you can play until perhaps the later years of a career. And like I said, Peter Wright, and he's turned it around on the Pro Tour, #3. So it's really no surprise on how well he actually performed in the World Championship, was it? You know, he done so well on the floor, so it's just that next step.
Yeah, his mind's in a good place at the moment. He isn't doubting his own ability, where like Dave Chisnell, you know, the ability that man's got is limitless. And but he's lost a little bit in his mindset, and that comes and goes. I mean, you know, everybody will say, "Oh, personally, I've probably had it 4 times where you've just dipped down so much." But you know, you have to get yourself back up. But Peter Wright is in a good position at the moment in his brain. He's confident in his own ability. If he loses a leg and even plays bad in that leg, that's history. You know, and that's what I keep telling the kids, and even my son, which is even harder with my son, that you've got to, you know, forget about it. Because if it upsets you in that leg, you're going to lose the next leg. And a good senior professional will then bury you. He will get in front of you and he will bury you. If you're playing Adrian Lewis, Michael van Gerwen, any of them top players, and they see weakness, you're going to get hammered over it. And so they've got to learn that. It's a lot of things to learn. You know, and like I said, you know, there's a lot of things we can do to go down the road to teach these youngsters the right way. But at the moment, you know, things are going in the right direction. We're certainly on the way up, and hopefully we're going to keep going up and not level out.